In this video, we're going to be looking at MPC 2.9 update with the new DrumSynth module and doing a test jam or two, right?
Jammy jams.
Jammy jam. All right, so what you just heard right there was a jam that Meems and I wrote a couple days ago. We just did it, and now I'm going to go through the actual setup and then also talk about the DrumSynth modules that are being used with the new update of 2.9. So first off, obviously the MPC one is the hub of everything. It's controlling all the MIDI data and also triggering the DrumSynth modules, obviously. And how everything is connected is via the USB hub that's connected to the back of the MPC one right here that allows me to basically just plug stuff in via USB, and then it automatically has a MIDI track that goes back and forth. It does not carry audio. I know there's been some confusion. A lot of people have asked, why is it not sending audio and all that? It does not do that. It is strictly MIDI, so it prevents the need to be able to have to use MIDI cables going in and out. You can just plug one USB cable into a hub and then plug it in the MPC one, and then all your gear that is ran by MIDI or USB MIDI is all communicating and talking, which is really great and super convenient. One of my favorite things about using the MPC one. So that includes the Digitone as well. The Digitone's connected, the Peak, the Model D, the Summit, and the Pro 3. That's the gear that's being used right now for this setup. And it's all just being automatically connected to MPC one via a hub right there, which is so cool. So I have the track mute screen currently open, and this allows me to basically just hit, or via the pads as well, basically just mute and unmute stuff. So I can like turn on the drums right here, and then hats, and the cymbal. That cymbal sound, some extra snares and kicks, some percussion. So then I could just take them all out. And then I could like throw in the bass line, the Model D. It's really convenient. It's a great way of working. It's similar to the Digitact as well, But there is some pros and cons to both those, the way those are routed right there. So the Digitone, I have it routed to where I have 2 tracks right here that are revealed inside the MPC one, so I can actually sequence these. So I had these 2 patches. Some sparkle magic. That's going right there, and those sound like this. So that's cool. And then I also have the peak as well. Doing some stuff right there. The Summit's doing a pad. Obviously Model D is doing bass. The Pro 3 was doing a counter bass line. Not really counter, but like additional bass. So then I add the Model D in. Throwing some kicks and snares. So yeah, it's kind of like the gist of the setup right here before I get into the drum part. I also have 2 peak channels. This peak channel is actual sequence data in there that was like the sparkle stuff. And then I had a peak playing one that I would sit on so I can actually just play the peak as the track was playing. Which is cool. Adds kind of an element of improv that can inject into the track. Let's get into the drum part of 2.9, which is very, very exciting. So what I'm gonna do first is actually make a brand new project to be able to jump into these modules because I don't wanna change what I have right here. So DrumSynth module in MPC 2.9. This has been a feature that I believe has been long requested for quite some time in the platform. Obviously, I only have an MPC one here, so I can't test it in the Live or the X or Force. I know it's on Force as well. So my experience is only going to be on the MPC one with this. But it's a really cool feature that's added because I've always wanted to just quickly grab some drum modeling when I'm doing stuff, and you technically have to rely on samples. You have to make sure you have a sample library of all the different stuff that you might want modeled if you are going to rely on it that way. So having DrumSynth in there allows you to immediately reach for that stuff. And it's really cool. There's a lot of pros. There's a few cons though, and we'll get to that. So let's first off go to a plugin right here. And then you got plugin 1. It starts out with Tube Synth. Their default thing right there. We're gonna go right here, MPC Drum Plugins. And you'll see you have clap, crash, hi-hat, kick, multi, perk, ride, snare, tom. So a lot of different synth engines right there. And the most interesting, in my opinion, is multi because it's a full kit. Really cool, right? So if you hit program edit, you immediately go into editing each one of these modules. 8 modules total, obviously, and there's send effects and mixer and all that. So what's really cool is there's a bunch of presets in here automatically. So I go back to the plugin program screen right here and I hit the preset stuff. You can see there's urban, a lot of different urban stuff. There is dance, 80, 90, machine, a few patches in machine right there, a few patches in 90, but like there's quite a bit. Like what does bouncer sound like? Ooh, nice. Sounds good. And that has nothing on the module, so you can add additional effects onto the module to juice it up. The multi does come with effects built into it as well, so you don't have to automatically load up an EQ or have like a reverb send or anything like that. It's already pre-baked into the multi type of thing. Let's just make a quick sequence so we can work with this. And do 4 to the floor. Okay. We got our sequence. Jumbly. I didn't use everything. I didn't use the cymbal. And I don't think I used the open hat. But it gives you an idea. So let's go through some presets now with that same thing. So low end shaker. quite a bit of variety so far. Let's go to a different category, because urban sounds awesome. What does dance sound like? High-tech minimal. Techno. So quite a lot of variety already that you can tell right there from the multi. So let's go back to the bouncer preset here. Let's go to program edit. Let's see, this is the snare drum right here. And let's start affecting the snare drum. How about some more noise? How about low end? Hear the low end hit harder now. Let's go noise color. Now this is strictly the snare drum that's being affected in here. And what's great is now I can just like do a little automation writing right here. Let's go decay in here. Mess with the stereo. Like to me, already that's very usable and really cool to just be able to immediately start shaping stuff. Let's go to the kick and let's see. How about the harmonic? Yeah, this is gonna mess it up. Actually, let's take off automation, just mess with the tuning now. Whoops. So that's cool. Now I'm gonna automate that now. Sounds a little crazy. It's just so nice to be able to have immediate access to adjust this stuff. Now, an interesting thing is each one of these modules has different pages. So you got transient designer, you got distortion that you can use, you got an EQ, you got a compressor, and I'm not sure if that's consistent across all of them. Looks like it. Yeah, it looks like each module essentially has that suite of stuff that you can mess with it. So transient, distortion, EQ, and compressor. Basically the bread and butter of stuff that you'd want to process your drum samples with. The other really cool thing is that there's some send effects in the multi as well, so you can automatically add some delay, some diffuser, and some reverb. What's not immediately obvious is how you do that in this setup, because you could be looking for a while and be like, how the hell do I add some freaking reverb to my snare or something? And if you go to the snare, as far as I can tell, there's nothing on here that says I'm adding reverb as a send. I had to double check just in case I missed it. So MPC, Akai, maybe in the future you can add some send options on this particular page. That would make it really convenient, because right now in order to add some reverb to the snare, I have to go all the way to the mixer right here. And then even with this, it's not very obvious yet. Let's solo the snare. Okay, obviously there's reverb already on there because it was a multi that was, or the preset that was baked. You have to hit mixer again, and then mixer again, and then you have sends. So you can see the reverb right here. Let's crank it up. Put the diffuser and maybe the delay. So not very intuitive, right? A little strange that you have to go all the way over to the mixer page and then hit the mixer thing two times or whatever to finally get to the place where you can add some sends of these effects that are baked into the multi. It would be really nice to have it automatically in the drum page right here, but it's not. Maybe in the future. Let's take that solo off. The other thing, on the mixer page, you don't see any like levels to know what's happening. You know? It's just a little thing, you know? Would have been nice to see levels, what's happening there, but it doesn't. Oh, another thing also is the compressor itself Normally with compressors, I'm expecting to see how much gain reduction is happening. If you look on here, there's no feedback of gain reduction whatsoever. So you just have to trust your ears on what's being reduced volume-wise, which isn't a bad thing. It's always good to like listen, you know, always good to be like, am I hearing that gain reduction or am I just imagining it? So with a multi-patch, really cool, right? Like you can automatically load up a kit, do some weird stuff on here, and then you could start throwing some inserts on there. In fact, let's just destroy this thing. Let's go tube drive. So just murdering this thing right now, right? Now, where this falls apart, unfortunately, is you get that going and you think, man, that's awesome. Now I want some like bread and butter drums, right? So what you think is like, maybe I'll just go make a new plugin and I'll go another multi, right? That's what you'd think. You click on it and it says the maximum number of instances of DrumSynth multi has been reached. Plugin was not loaded. Bummer. So I don't know if this is something that's only on the MPC one or if it is across the board that's set up this way. But on the MPC one, you can only have one instance of the multi. And I think there's a limit to how many plugins, like 8 plugins or something like that total, synth plugins. But I know there is a limit to how many you can have on the one. And I'm assuming there's a limit on the Live and X as well. And I'm assuming also if you run the software on the computer, that there's no limit. I would hope that there's no limit. It would just be your CPU and RAM and all that would depend, or be the threshold of passing that. But with the MPC one, you can only have one multi. I was a bit bummed out to see that because I really like being able to just load up a multi and then have at it and then make another one and then be able to adjust on the fly with this stuff because it's so hands-on. Now, before I move on to the individual plugins and all that, I do want to point out one more thing that I do find a bit irritating that I wish maybe in the future could be changed with software. As far as I can tell, there's no quick way to mute these pads right here. So initially I was thinking, oh, well, maybe I could just go to pad mute, shift pad mute, and pad mute's not available for plugin program. So you can't mute those drums individually in the multi right there. And even in program edit, I think the only way to mute these tracks is to go all the way over to the mixer and then hit mute. There might be some other way to mute it as well, but as far as I can tell, if you want to individually mute these pads, then you need to split them out into separate tracks of each one of what they're going to be, and then trigger those on and off as you go. So if you make one pattern right here with track 1, you need to copy that pattern to all these others and then start splitting out the data. And that kind of sounds like a pain in the ass, personally. And another thing you can't do, as far as I can tell, is I don't think you can explode it. You know, so you can't like convert this track. I mean, you can bounce an audio track, you could duplicate it, but I don't think you can like explode this multi into the individual plugins. And that's another thing I was really hoping that was possible, because it'd be cool to have, you know, like what I just made right here, and then be like, explode that into some other stuff so I can tweak it and then redo the multi or something. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So moving on from there, the multi, again, super cool. Awesome to be able to just grab some stuff and start making some things. Unfortunately, it is limited in terms of instances and your muting capabilities. Can't explode it out into separate tracks and all that stuff. You have to be pretty hands-on with it to work with it further. Not to say that's a bad thing specifically, but it's just, you know, you got to think about that in the process. If you are going to use that multi-part, and you do want to then start doing some like muting of kicks and snares and all that live, then you're going to have to specifically plan on what you want to mute out of that multi-instrument. And again, if I missed an easy way of muting stuff, definitely let me know in the comments. I'm not a master when it comes to MPC. I just really like using the platform. Let's go to the plugins. As you can see, they split out all those engines into separate ones. So like you could do kick right here. Let's get it like processed. If you edit this, you can go chromatic as well, which is cool. got plenty of options for adjustments and tone shaping and all that. Basically, it's the same exact thing that you get in the multi, minus the mixer and the send effects and all that. So you can check out the distortion, transient designer and all that, and EQ, compressor. So great options for being able to shape drum tones immediately on this platform. And here's all the kick models right there. I'm not gonna go through every single one of these because that's usually a journey that's better for you to explore. If you do have the MPC and you just loaded up the update, really good to go through that stuff and see what's available. So kick is great, awesome stuff. Let's add a few plugins here. There, so yeah, only 8 plugins total on here, but each one of these I believe can be a kick. All right, so we have 7 kick modules plus the multi. That's just been added right there. So that's the limit right there. You could technically have the multi plus a whole nother kit minus 1 module that you could mess with and adjust. Or you could have like the multi plus 4 kicks, 2 snares, and a percussion or something like that to have different tones and textures and variation. Let's go to the tom real quick. And tom is chromatic as well, which is great. Yeah, so there's just a lot of options for adjustments and all that, from like, you know, pitch, low noise, high noise, clicks and all that. They've basically given you the main bulk of what you want with some drum synth modeling in this platform. I feel like what it gives you is very straightforward. I don't really feel like you're gonna get some crazy out of this world tones from the drums or something like that. It's gonna be pretty straightforward and things that you'd expect from a drum synth plugin that's emulating these type of sounds. Very happy about that. And then you can also go through the processing of like just manipulating it and giving it effects, you know, turning into audio essentially and doing all the manipulations to it. So it's a great launching point if you don't already have a bunch of samples. And I guess the question would be, would you want to use this over samples specifically? And I think the times that you do want to use this would be when you want to have live manipulation happen of the specific sounds. You know, like having the kick drum specifically that I was doing with this. Doing the, you know, that's great to be modeled, or that's great to be played live. Instead of having an actual audio sample that's modulating up and down, that's gonna get some artifacts, which could be cool. You might be looking for artifacts. If you want a clean signal that's happening, it's best to do that live. And obviously there's way more stuff that you could do to it, from all the harmonics, clicks, noise, all this stuff from just the kick drum. And then the hats and, you know, snares and all that stuff. Okay, so I opened back up the project that Meems and I just did to show what I did for the multi and the various plugin modules to create the drums here. So I started with the multi with drums, sounds like this. Then I created a hi-hat track, then some percussion, which is distorted-ish. I made a cymbal track, that cymbal right there. And then I wanted some like extra kick and snare type of action. So I started with these snares, which have like a reverse reverb on them. And then I did these kicks. And then I put it all together. Yeah. Throw in the bass. And there we go, a brief overlook of the DrumSynth from MPC 2.9. Looking forward to using more of it. So I think that's gonna do it for the video. Thank you very much for watching. That was a lot of fun, right?
It was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
getting to play on the MPC.
Yeah, getting to jam on it was really
Yeah.
cool. The DrumSynth was cool, I like it, and it was fun just kind of making stuff up and yeah, seeing where it goes. It's always fun jamming.
Always, and you never know where it's gonna go, right?
Yeah, exactly. You never know what's gonna go. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and leave us a comment as well. We always read all the comments and look forward to hearing what you guys are up to. And that's it.
Can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, can't wait for the next video. See you next time. Deuces.
Deuces.